Well, I know quite a few of you from other times we've come together in these formats, and I'm guessing, both guessing and also knowing, having spoken with some of you before, that even after having a very deep insights about how there really is no separation anywhere to be found, that reality is completely undivided in its basis and its essence, and it just is simply undivided. And in that sense, what we're searching for could never be missing, because there's only this that's here, and nothing that's been plucked out of it, even though it can feel like that, right? Like somehow we've been cast out of it, and then, right, we go on a search for it. And there can be that seeing, and maybe you've had that seeing and maybe had that recognition many, many times, that what you were looking for is already here as you, as everything. That there's, again, that there's this fundamental reality, this reality, simply reality, has never split itself off into something separate. And if you're anything like me, you have found over time, and maybe even ongoingly to some degree, this feeling that in spite of having recognized that inseparability, that this can never split itself apart, you may have that sense of the return of a feeling of separation, and a return of that feeling of looking for something, right, that seems to be missing, like your ground, your source, your God, your divinity. Like, where did it go? And then we hop on the next Zoom call to try to remember it, recognize it, or we do a practice, or we read a book, or we engage in some kind of inquiry or some kind of practice to recapture what we imagine has been lost. Can I have a show of hands? Yeah. Well, I think we're all in that tribe in one form or another. And this morning I'm just going to say, revisited by an understanding that's been with me for a long time, but it feels like sometimes it hits me over the head just even harder. I don't know how to describe it, but it hit me on the head as hard as this ever hit me in some ways. And it was this feeling of waking up in the morning, waking up out of the dream state, the deep sleep state, waking up to this, what we would call the waking world, and having that, even that kind of like in between zone. And it's almost like you're refinding your ground. And as part of that, like, you're reorienting to this like reality of waking existence. And there's almost like that, a sense of like looking for, it's hard to describe, but like reorienting to this indivisibility, like this singularity. And and in the moment of kind of feeling that, it was like almost like feeling the return of this subtle or not so subtle seeking energy. And there was just this very simple noticing, and I invite you to just notice that right now, that it was this feeling of just that something was present, like waking up in the morning was waking up to feel that something was present. Like, that's what it was. It was the same thing. Like, waking up was waking up to presence. And it's impossible to put this into words, but I'm going to try. And it was this feeling of like, I'm sure you've had also this sense of like, all these spiritual teachings talk about like, seeing through the separate self. And then that damn sense of self keeps returning. It keeps returning. Doesn't it often that sense keeps returning? Does for me. And what I was seeing this morning is that that sense of the return of being you, being an individual, a person, that is the divinity. Like that is the presence. It's not a mistake. It's not like, oh, you lost something because now you feel like you again. It's like you're feeling reality is feeling itself. You're feeling you. Like that's the same thing. It's like it's you. Like you're the only thing that exists. Of course, the sense of self would keep returning because there isn't anything else but that. It's just reality. It's all we're ever feeling. And we're always feeling that. And it can feel very personal, like me, the individual, John, living my life and all the things that make up what I think of as my life. And it can also feel just completely blown wide open and impersonal and boundless and spaceless and empty. But it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter what it feels like. It's just the feeling of presence. It's the feeling of reality, feeling itself. That's it. Reality's feeling itself, awake to itself. Every moment. It's done. It's done. There's no path to find this. It's already accomplished. It's already here as this moment. The moment, which is all that ever exists, is the awakening. The moment is awake, isn't it? There's no waking up. The moment's awake. Period. End of story. When has the moment ever not been awake? It's always awake. It's always here. And again, it can look like, strangely enough, funny and sometimes doesn't feel so funny. It can look like reality, this wakefulness, this brilliant light of reality, going, where am I? Where am I? Where did I go? And meanwhile, it never went anywhere. It is absolutely literally what's looking through your eyes. It's you looking through your eyes, and you are reality looking through these eyes. I mean, there's no separation. Completely personal, completely impersonal, utterly beyond all those designations. Just this simplicity of your life, which is also what the Tibetans call the great perfection. Without having to make it any different than it is, any more perfect, supposedly, it is perfect as it is. It is the miracle. Every moment is the miracle. Timeless miracle. I was talking about waking up from, deep sleep, dreaming, into the waking world. Like every moment we could say is that same, like suddenly there's this sense of being, this sense of something happening. And that's like, you're just waking up. We're waking up in every instant to yourself with a capital S and a small s, because they're not two things. The personal is the impersonal dances as the personal. There's literally no dichotomy. It is the idea that there's a dichotomy that takes us on a journey of trying to find the impersonal, trying to find the transcendental, but the transcendental is is our ordinary existence, so-called ordinary, not so ordinary. I mean, it is very ordinary and very extraordinary, just utterly beyond anything that I could say, obviously. Absolutely nothing has to happen, because what is happening is the expression of the great perfection of reality. That's what's present. I remember, I think it might have been in my first book, I wrote a poem. I don't know, I'll see if I can dig it up maybe later. It was something like called the trick birthday candle. Remember those trick birthday candles? Like you try to blow it out and it keeps like relighting. And and I remember feeling like that sense of being a self was like a trick birthday candle. Like, wow, it's like I blow it out and I realize there's no self. There's just the limitless expanse of reality. There's no self. It's a fiction, right? There's no separate self. And damn, that sense of self just kept coming back, coming back. You know, you ever have that feeling? From one perspective, we can feel like, oh, damn, there's that separate self again. Like, oh, I made a mistake. I did something wrong. That birthday candle relit itself, and now there's a sense of being a self. It's like, that's just the light of divinity, brightly shining. Do you feel the difference of that? Like, it's not a mistake. I am the great I am. Sense of being. I mean, it's so personal in the sense of it's you, right? It's like you don't need to eradicate you because you are the divinity. There's nothing to eradicate. There's nothing to get rid of. There's nothing to dispense with. It's you are you, and all that you might think of as you, and the personality and the quirks and the tendencies and the blind spots and the conditioning, and you're utterly beyond all of that at the same time, right? Because there's no separation anywhere. I wrote this morning, that the sense of being, which is the only sense we ever have, sense of being, that's the primal sense we have, isn't it? I said the sense of being is the sense of I, being, primordial being. And it is a sense of being someone as well, someone that exists, you. Yes, you are someone. You are. This never goes away. But at the same time, it's completely impersonal, boundless, fathomless, identityless. It's this that wakes up every morning and wakes up in every moment. This, you, this presence that is awake. And it wakes up and seems to go on a search for itself. But it's reality. It's being. Being is the seeker, and being is the sought. They're one and the same thing. There's just being. And it's obvious, so obvious that it's already here before we take one step toward it to find it, right? It's already here. There's no step that needs to be taken towards it, because the one that takes a step towards it is it. Right? As Krishnamurti said, there's no path to here. This is already here as whatever it is that's present, whatever this is that's present, the miracle. It's as good a word as any, the miracle, because there's no explanation for it. It's why I like the word. It's like, this is just a miracle. The miracle of the moment, the miracle of existence. In the Tibetan tradition, the Dzogchen Tibetan tradition, Buddhist tradition, sometimes that word Dzogchen, I'm no expert on it, but it's also translated not just as the great perfection, but the great completion. It's already complete. Like all the puzzle's been solved, in the sense of it's all together. It's already been resolved. And then life can be lived, and is actually being lived, even if we might not appreciate it fully. It is being lived from that place of already completeness and fullness and nothing missing. It's not a different perception. It's the perception you're having right now. That's the perfection. Because a perception is what? Perception is the presence of reality shining, isn't it? The perception of this moment is the miracle, which is why you don't have to have a different perception, because every perception is the miracle. The title of the book before the last book was called Searching for Rain in a Monsoon, and that title says it all. I didn't need to write any further. Searching for rain in a monsoon. Where's the rain? Where's the rain? Where's the rain of awakening that I'm searching for? We're drenched in the rain. We are the rain. Not even drenched in it. That's how drenched we are. We are raining, and we're looking for the rain.